Next up, we have Costas Sisamos. Some say education is enhanced by games, and Engino is a revolutionary way to incorporate gaming in the learning experience. Costas graduated from Imperial College London and founded Engino in 2004. He received R&D funding from the Research Promotion Foundation and Business Incubators and launched the first Engino sets in 2007. Since then, the product has been awarded many local and international awards, including the Innovation Awards from the Cyprus Industrialist Association, as well as Dr. Toy's Best Educational Toy Award. He was also nominated as Man of the Year in 2009 and won the Best Practice SME Award by the European Commission.
The company now sells to more than 15 countries and is scheduled to launch a new robotic toy system soon, making its move into high-tech products. This year, Costas moved his production to Cyprus, investing in a new factory with fully automated machinery, establishing the first toy factory in Cyprus. Now, he will take the stage to share with us the story of Engino from its first conception to commercialization in Cyprus. Costas?
Thank you. So I'm here to talk a little bit about Engino, and I will share with you the story which led to today. So, a little bit about myself. In 1993, I graduated as a mechanical engineer, and then I decided I wanted to become a teacher instead of doing engineering. So I went back to University of Cyprus and I studied education for primary school, and in 1998 I became a teacher in primary schools. Everybody was saying at then that I wasted 4 years of my life to become an engineer and abandon everything to become a teacher. In 2004 I founded Engino Net Limited, which is a company which created the toys. And strangely enough, the toys would never have been created if I was not able to combine engineering with education. So nothing in life is wasted. Now in 2007, after 3 years of intensive research and development, we launched the first Engino sets, and I will share with you a little bit later. And in 2012, we created our own factory for production in Cyprus. Now, like any innovation has to start with a problem that we need to find a solution. Now, being a teacher in the primary schools, there is a subject called design and technology. Some of you may have used this technology to build the models in school, and while building the model, you were supposed to learn problem solving and technology such as how levers, gears, and other technology works. Now, doing this has to be done with gluing wooden sticks together, and this took ages. And I was a teacher because of my engineering background. The Ministry of Education assigned me as a design and technology coordinator, and I was going around the schools in Cyprus trying to help teachers teach more effectively this subject. So building the model was a problem that was faced by the teachers and by the students every day. So being an engineer, it came to me an idea that it would be much easier to build models if we had some system of connectors that would allow the wooden sticks to join together without using glue and taking so much time. So this is what the solution looks like, but this is what it looks like today. When it started, it didn't look like anything. So the idea was to design a system of plastic connectors. I was an engineer from Imperial College. I had an MSc, but everything was theoretical. We didn't took any courses in plastics engineering. And then I was a teacher, so all my knowledge was from my father's factory, who was doing refrigerators, nothing to do with plastic. So I started designing the plastic connectors in AutoCAD, which was a CAD that I learned from Imperial. That was good. And when I visited some mold makers to create the tools to manufacture this, they were laughing because everything was designed the wrong way. I will not go into the details how to design a plastic product, but I had to find out in the next 3 years. Now, while doing the design of the product, it came to me that we shouldn't restrict this process to children in schools, but children should become inventors at home. But this actually created new needs. No longer I had to develop just a system of simple connectors. I had to develop a complete library of parts. I had to develop retail packages. This is now we go to we because I started hiring people. Then we had to develop models, and we had to develop the instruction manuals with the step-by-step instructions how to build the models. This was a complete a project that required a lot of different skills. Thankfully, I had many skills myself, but I couldn't do everything myself. So we started working with people. Some of them are still in the company, some are not. During the process, I realized that now, forgive me for the Greek, this is a picture of the problem. When you start the effort to solve something, you are faced with a problem. And then you realize that this problem is not a single problem, but consists of a smaller problem. And that smaller problem has other problems inside. And then there are other problems and other problems, but not problems in the sense of problems. These are issues that we have to deal with. Now, I was also a teacher, so I had to, it was my inner need to understand the process of innovation. And I realized that it's not so easy, and I was about to give up. And I found in the internet the caption from our friend Thomas Edison, who was mentioned earlier, that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And in this diagram, perspiration is the real effort, the engineering effort that you put into solving the smaller problems, the day-to-day issues. And inspiration is the big idea that will take you out of the bigger problems into a completely new look at the solution. Now I will go through the evolution of the idea. Something that demonstrates the process of evolving is the logo. This is the first logo we created. If you notice it, it's very similar to Lego because Lego was like the target that we wanted to reach. When we started designing the first packages, we changed the logo a little bit and added some engineering, the cogwheel there. Once the product got into the market and we started using 3D rendering, we created this logo which combines the primary colors and some parts of the toy itself. And we are stuck now with this logo because we registered it in Europe and the United States. Now, a major factor that influenced the design process. I'm feeling like a dinosaur here because I'm not young, and but most importantly, Engino is not a product of high tech in the first look, and is mostly related to a consumable product that has to deal with all the aspects of technology. Now, the development cost was the major issue with Engino. Now, I heard the speakers before, they managed to find investors. Unfortunately, I was just a simple engineer, I was an educator, and I didn't have the knowledge to seek and find investors. Of course, I managed to establish business plans. I traveled to Greece to some Taneo investment conferences, and everybody was saying, very nice to have you here, and then nobody replied back. In fact, I remember we had a meeting in Cyprus for finding angel investors. It was a trial that they invited a couple of guys, one woman and a man from the United States, from England. And the meeting was at Quebec, and they invited myself and some other guys who were in the business incubators to show them our idea. And they invited also maybe 10 of the biggest companies in Cyprus, their executives, to have a look at the ideas as well, and that would be the first step in learning how to become investors. What we didn't realize, that was a training session funded by the European Union, and we were like the guinea pigs, so that the Cypriot investors to-be would learn how to deal with investor presentations. So I made the presentation, many others made the presentation, and we were battled by the UK people who were there. And I already started selling the toy at the time. It was not at the very early stage. And the woman was Greek. And he said, very good to hear you. My husband also studied in Imperial. And I said, that's good. I was thinking inside, now we have an investor. And then she said, but sorry, I have to tell you something. You have no chance. And I was frozen like that after a complete presentation, and I said, why? You said you only came so far because you are smart, because you went to Imperial, but you have no future. Nobody can stand up to Lego. But we are still here and going. So anyway, the development cost was the major issue for us because we didn't have money from anywhere. I put a little bit of money myself, initially £3,000, and I thought with £3,000 I would win the world. In fact, we went to the first exhibition in Nuremberg, where is the biggest toy exhibition in the world. Every year in February, I got a stand there, and I had some prototypes. And I went to a printing house and printed 1,000 sale orders because the statistics of the show were that 80,000 visitors come at the show. So 80,000 visitors, I thought that I would get 1,000 customers. So I had everything ready, the sale order, 1,000 customers from €1,000 each. That's a lot of money. That would be enough to create the product. I didn't get anything. I got only around 20 visitors that came there, showed interest, and never replied again. But this gave me a chance to understand the toy market and how it behaved because I was there at the show. I saw the Lego stand, which was around the size of the hotel. I saw all the Chinese companies that they had copies of everything at the almost negative price. And I was the only Cypriot who ever exhibited at that show, and a German newspaper came there and wanted to take an interview. And I was very proud of my picture and the German letters I couldn't understand. 2 years ago, I went and visited a German company, a potential customer, and I was very proud. And, oh, look, we have an article here. Let me read. And he started laughing, and I said, what? He doesn't say anything about you, he said. So anyway, so we had to create everything with as little money as possible. One example is the extendable rod. This is one of the parts that we have in Engino toy system. This is unique in the world. It is a part that can change its size, which means that with only 2 individual parts, we can have a combination of more than 20 different possibilities. And 2 parts means 2 production tools only. If I were to make this in a series of production tools, it would mean 13 tools. And going back to the engineering, 1 production tool for plastic making a plastic part like this size. In China, you can make for around $10,000. In Germany, you need around 50,000 euro. And Lego, they have 8,000 parts. So you can imagine the size of the investment needed to create a library of plastic parts. Now, we had to achieve this with almost nothing, so I needed to create as few parts as possible and to be able, out from these parts, to build as many models as possible. And I had to, of course, take the risk and make everything in China. Now, in fact, we are copied, and I cannot find out who copied us. Now, this is the part evolution. This is the part that's originally designed. As you can see, it has square holes, and the reason is that it had to be compatible with the wooden sticks used in the technology classroom. In order to test the part, we could test it with the 3D printing technology, but the 3D printing technology does not produce fully functional parts. So I had to create a manufacturing tool for these parts, injected out of ABS plastic. So we invested in the tooling, we made the parts, and they were not good. They failed because there were sharp corners, there was stress concentration, I didn't have uniform wall thickness, all these things that a young engineer who knew a little bit about plastics would know. Unfortunately, we go to the best colleges and we don't learn these things that we need to do, but at least I had the background to go on Amazon and buy a few books and start studying. And then I created the second version where I solved all the mistakes of the first design, and now you can see I have a uniform thickness. I added a hole in the middle so we can have more functionalities. I kept the square hole, and I increased the thickness to relieve the stress concentration. But then the cost of the production of this product was very high. It would never make it into the market. So there has to be a balance between design, cost, and all these issues. So I decided to abandon the idea of a square hole, so the system would no longer be compatible with the wooden sticks. That was the original idea. I would find some other way to make it compatible with an adapter, and I went to a round hole, a cylindrical design that was much easier to implement. Again, I had to create the tools. Every time making the tools took about 6 months, a lot of traveling to China, and a lot of investment and a lot of travel. This system also failed when it came out and we tried to build models. It was not good enough. Now I heard the presentation before and I'm thinking that maybe I should go into the market with this system and not spend another 100,000 euro and 3 years of my life trying to develop something better. Maybe it's good to get some initial money from sales, even if the product is not good. But that's not how it works. I wanted everything to be perfect, so we went back to the design board and I designed a system that is how it looks today. Of course, this was going through a round of iterations to make it more efficient. Now the design system, I will not go into the details, it allows connectivity in all the directions at the same time. So with only 18 basic components, we can create more models than Lego can create with 8,000 components. And another advantage, is that these parts are manufactured with high productivity tools. The Lego parts, they need inserts, they need a lot of high-tech tooling to be produced. Our technology, which is patented, can be produced quite easily. Of course, these are innovations that I thought were very important, and they are important. But when we tried selling these to the customers, and the customer is not the child, is not the 10-year-old, the customer, as it turns out, is the guys who have Carrefour, they have Lidl, And not even these guys, they are the smaller guys. And I remember I went to a meeting in Greece. Somebody arranged a meeting with a group of supermarkets, low-cost supermarkets. And I went to the manager, I made a nice presentation, I showed how everything works. And after 5 minutes, he said, "Stop." I said, "What?" "I don't want to hear anything more." "Why?" "I don't care about these things. Tell me, how much money shall I make?" And I said, "I'm telling you this because the toy is good and children will come back and buy again because they will like it. I don't care. How much money will I make?" And came to me, this guy is either he's selling potatoes or angurka or whatever. The toy is the same thing for him. So I left the meeting, I didn't sell. And unfortunately, this is the standard attitude from most of the buyers. They do not care about innovation. All they care about is how much money they will make. And they know that with Lego they make money because it's a brand everybody knows. With a new brand that nobody knows, there is no TV advertising behind it. It's not easy to put on the shelves and sell it. Unfortunately, they are right. It's not easy. We tried calling Jumbo, for example. And I was on the telephone just a week ago with one of the buyers, and I said, "We have these toys made in Cyprus now with the crisis. It's a good opportunity to help Cyprus." And he said, "We don't care about this type of toys." But I said, not like that, but, and he kept saying, "We don't care about this type of toys." And he was meaning he doesn't care about educational toys. They only care about toys that they are fast moving and they sell a car with remote control, cheap, €7, and that's it. And I insisted that is good because what you have is a branded shop. You took 80% of the toy market. For us, it's impossible to sell through other channels. You attract all the buyers, all the children, so why not put a small space for an educational product that will add value to what you offer? And he said again, "We don't care." And this is what we have to struggle with. Nevertheless, we are here and standing and selling. Now, this is the evolution of the package. This is the first package we designed. Everything was based on 3D renders. This is based also on the original parts that were compatible with the wood. In my rush to get to be ready for Christmas, I printed 5,000 boxes of these. I had them in my garage for 5 years, I think. And the manufacturer of the production tools promised me that he would have everything ready in 1 month. That was, I think, 7 years ago, and he's still trying. One of the biggest problems we have in Cyprus is that we don't have companies that are specialized, at least in this field. I didn't find one credible manufacturer of injection production tools, and that's why we had to resort into China, because Germany was too expensive. Now I'm fed up with everybody, so we invested in our factory, and we have CNC machinery to make our own production tools. But again, I found out that it's not easy to train one of your staff to become a mold maker. It's something that takes years. Now this is the second line of packages we developed. Fortunately, they never went into the market because I changed the idea before these were produced. And this is the third generation that actually went into the market. Our first big export was to Korea in 2007. The package in the middle top is the 60 models. It was our best seller. The rest of the packages were more related to education and specialized sets for teaching particular subjects. Now, if you notice, if some of you are good with branding and designing, there is a problem with these sets. I didn't realize it when we were designing them because I was not a designer. I was just an engineer. The problem with these sets is branding. If you see them, there is no uniform branding. Everything is of different color, different idea. So that was in 2007. In 2008, I decided I will throw away all these remaining boxes, and we shall go with a new design that will have a consistent branding, and we made everything black and they didn't sell. Unfortunately, I produced thousands of these. We did some exports to Romania, we export to Dubai, but we never exported again to those countries because they never sold in the shelves. So in 2009, we decided to give a fresh look after learning about designing, artwork, and branding, and all these things. Someone could say, why didn't you hire a consultant to tell you about these things? But we didn't have money for a consultant, and I don't think in Cyprus you can find consultants that they have this various mix of knowledge. So this is a new design that went very good. It lasted for maybe 2 years. We introduced a step in the design to make it differentiate from anything else. At the time we were producing in China, importing this box was not a big problem because the labor in China is not much. When I decided to move the production in Cyprus, I had to, again, change the design of the packaging and make it more simple to accommodate the increase in the cost. Some of the expansion sets that every year we added, then we added some solar sets. And this is a mechanical science series, more educational, the mega series. And these are the evolution of the previous sets when we started in Cyprus. The boxes are more simple. We try to get the artwork better. We increase the range. We put more sets under the 30 euro barrier. When we started in 2007, I didn't care about how much it would sell because I thought it's a toy. It can sell for 30, 40, 50 euro. And then we realized that as the crisis started, nobody was paying for a toy more than 30 euro. And all the Engino toys were more expensive than 30 euro. So we had to recreate new models with fewer parts that were of lower cost. This is the launch we did early this year about our robotics set. Unfortunately, it didn't go into the market yet. It is still in the testing phase. We had some of the robots tested in the youth day of this event. They went quite well. Now, this is a series we called Incubators. Remember, the initial idea started with the wood connectors. Nobody cared about the wood connectors anymore. And then came a French company. They had around 100 shops, 100 environmentally friendly shops. And they saw accidentally in our website the wood connectors. And they came to us and they asked us to develop something customized for them, that would use the plastic and wood in combination. And we got that customer, and based on that, we created this new range. It just came into the market. We only delivered the first sets a few weeks ago. And this is a new series we call the Pico builds. We like playing with the names, Pico, Micro, Mega. So we created even smaller sets with specialized colors that would be more attractive for children. And we found out there is a limit. The limit for Engino is around 6 euro. We could never develop a set under the 6 euro retail barrier. And my son, with his nephew, my son is now 7. When he was 5 and 6, they got crazy with spinners, zvures. They saw the with the cartoons in the TV, and they were playing with the Beyblades and all that. And because they had a lot of Engino parts at home, they started building spinners with Engino. And they were shouting to each other, Engino spinners, whoa! And they were going like crazy. And I said, these guys invented something. So I got the idea from them, and I just designed a new part that would accept the Engino parts and allow them to spin easier. So we created 4 sets that are spinners, and when you combine the 4 together, you can take them apart and build 3 different models. This is a concept that there is nothing else in the market, and we managed to go further below the barrier of €6, and these spinners, they retail at €3. And now we are discussing with KFC and McDonald's not in Cyprus, in the United States, in Middle East, to use them in the Happy Kids meal. Unfortunately, they want to buy only at 20 cents. So whatever we try is still not enough. Now, I will speed up a little bit. There are serious problems by being in Cyprus. The first one is that Cyprus has a very small population, so you don't have the critical mass population to achieve sales that will generate income to put into the product. Greece, on the other hand, has 10 million, 11 million population, which is a good number. But imagine, for example, United States, where you have 300 million. So Cyprus has a small population. There is a problem with financing. The VC venture capital industry is actually non-existing. We were one of the first companies who we got funding from the business incubator scheme. And the idea from the ministry was, okay, we will give you financing, £120,000 at the time, and you will use this financing to create a prototype, and then you will find investors to give you the money to do the rest. Where are they? The government should actually take a much more comprehensive strategy where they would look at innovation as a complete cycle, starting from inception to research and then to commercialization, marketing, and branding. The good thing is that this year, after having the experience with Engino and with other companies who they never managed to get capital from venture capitalists, they launched a new scheme. They call it the innovation scheme, something which may be useful to any of you that want to start up their own company or even go to another company with their idea. And they are giving 150,000 per project. And this is called innovation. So they are funding not only research, but they are funding also marketing and commercialization, industrialization. And the good thing is that in the next few years, more than 40 million will come in Cyprus, and everything will be spent in innovation, and that's where you have to aim. The solution when you don't have funding is to go in the research funds. In Cyprus, we have a Research Promotion Foundation. They have projects for companies. We managed to have 4 projects so far approved. Unfortunately, this foundation is working and not working. There are no money anymore, so they stopped giving and announcing new projects. And another thing, when I started, you were allowed to get a project with a company just being formed. Now you have to have a company that has a turnover more than 300,000 euro and a good history. So it makes it impossible for young startups to get funding from these programs. Another source of funding is from the Ministry of Commerce, such as the one of Innovation I just mentioned, They also give funding for exhibiting at toy fairs, in generally in trade shows, and small funds making a website and things like that. And you also have to be able to put some personal investment. I have 5 children, and I had to put my house on the mortgage 3 times so far to keep it going. Another problem when you start from Cyprus, a new venture, is that you may not have established channels of distribution, and you have to establish these channels from scratch. And being in Cyprus, that means we have to go through middlemen, distributors, and this means we have to give them not 25%. Unfortunately, distributors, they ask for much more. Each middleman, they want around 50%. So you have distributors who they buy the product and keep it in stock. They want to double the price they buy from you. And then you have the retailers such as Lidl or Toys R Us, and they also want to double the price they buy from the distributors. That means that the price that I sell is multiplied 4 times to reach the consumer. And having in mind that my main competitor, Lego, they already have established channels of distribution. They have their own companies in Europe and also in United States. That means they bypass the distributor and they go directly to the, not to the consumer, but to the retailer. And the retailer is happy with only a 30% profit from Lego because it's a super brand. It's like with the iPhones. When the iPhones came to the market, they are selling only with 8% margin, and they're happy because they're selling in much higher volumes. And as I said before, there is no local industry. We had to outsource everything in China at first. I had to do a lot of traveling. It was not easy with a family. And actually, I was always in the fear of being copied eventually, which happened. And my dream was to establish a factory in Cyprus. Everybody was saying we are crazy. It's not possible to make an industry in this island. But we did it, and the good result is that initial costing shows that we are 15% cheaper than the price I used to buy from China. So there are ways to cut down costs. There are automated machinery you can use, efficient production lines, and these things can be implemented, but they need a lot of financing, and we hope that the government will soon enough launch new projects that will help get the machinery and the land necessary for making even bigger factories. Now, we also achieved a lot of things. We got many international and local awards from European Union, from the OEV, the Industrialist Association. There is a competition from the University of Cyprus for entrepreneurship. We have our patents, industrial designs, and now we export to more than 20 countries. And against all odds, we created the factory in Cyprus. We even designed our own logo made in Cyprus, and we forwarded to all the industries to use in the products made in Cyprus. Now this actually happened before the crisis in Cyprus. Now everybody, actually our sales dropped around 50% this year, even the export sales, and I thought we were not going to be harmed by the crisis because we are actually exporting. Unfortunately, nobody is willing to give money to us and pay for a product in Cyprus banks. So the crisis has expanded and covered both exports and local industry. Some of my friends said, forget the logo, cover it up, and put a different logo, better made in China. And to be honest, I am tempted to do something like that when I don't get the support we need from the government or from other local sources. But I was in the army not before. I just came out of the army this morning. They actually called me to go in and go for Efedros for 3 days, and I didn't have it in my timetable because I always forget about these things. And I missed the event last night and everything, and I was watching guard until 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was there with all the newcomers, and everybody was saying, I will go out of Cyprus. When I finish the army, I will go and study and stay out of Cyprus. And I said, no, I will stay in Cyprus, and I will fight it in Cyprus, and we shall eventually make it through. This is just an image of the shop we have in my mall in Cyprus. We tried to expand with a franchise of our own stores because we found out that showing the product, experiencing the product can boost the sales. We also tried some islands in shopping malls in the United States. Unfortunately, they failed because an expensive product, considerably expensive like Engino, cannot be sold in islands where nobody knows it. This is some pictures from events in schools. And this is many of the exhibitions we had to participate. I see myself going around with a suitcase, a big suitcase to put all the models. I was very strong in my youth. Now I have to get 5 people with me to carry them around. So thank you very much.